What's up? It's your boy Carcino here, and let's talk about it. There's a lot of different entities that's at play that people don't know about. The NBA is a cesspool full of different things that are transpiring at the same time and then not at all. So, whatever's written in the rule books is not necessarily what's going to take place. You might say, well, I'm confused. What does that mean? Well, with the CBA, or what they call the Uniform Player Contract, or the part of the collective bargaining agreement that they have, the National Basketball Association can pretty much do different things that shade the area of, or what they call the gray area of the rules. So even though it's written, it's a workaround. And they could use it to abuse it, just like the players abuse the the rules that they have in front of them. The league abuse rules that they have in place. They manipulate free agency and 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 trades. So now it's the other way around. You got the NBA and the league and all the owners of these teams that know how to manipulate these contracts and actual employment in the waiver process. Now, in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about or didn't read the title, Kyrie Irving and his team are considering legal action, what they call a grievance. Now, because he was suspended, Kyrie Irving, because of this documentary that he posted on Twitter, everyone assumed this to be an excessive fine. The union itself is working with his legal team. So it has been a very different type of situation because the Brooklyn Nets have tried to take step by step to say, hey, we're following everything in this contract or anything that's here. We're trying to follow to the letter. But are they? You see, when they asked Kyrie, he said he's going to leave that up to his legal team, right? He got some warriors around him that's going to make sure that his team, that his family is protected. Him and his family. They protect each other. So things will be done in the future. There's no timetable on that right now. And he's right. To file a grievance, he could do that at the end of the season. He could do the grievance, from what I understand, the grievance can be filed at any time during this season. Like at the end of the season, if they want to file a grievance about something that happened earlier, they can. So right now, he just wants to focus on basketball and play basketball. Now, here's why they indefinitely suspended Kyrie Irving. This was a strategic way to get around the waiver protocol. See, if they waive Kyrie Irving, after the after he clears waivers, he becomes a free agent. Period. So you lose Kyrie Irving, you get nothing for him. If you try to trade him, you can't now because of this, you end up waiving him. So now He becomes a free agent. He could sign anywhere, and then you lose. Period. You lose fans. You lost a star player. So he was suspended indefinitely. So that compliance, you know, that's eliminates the waiver protocol. If that makes sense to you. Same thing with Ime Udoka. They suspended him for a year. So he serves a year suspension, so he can't go and sign with another team this season. They could have terminated his employment. Then he could have went and signed with anybody else. Then they lose a coach. Now this coach somewhere else coaching against them, and they wouldn't want that. So here we are. They've been abusing this indefinite suspension rule to get around waivers. Now, I do look for them to try to trade Kyrie Irving before the trade deadline. I don't think Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets are going to be on this team or moving forward together. I think Kyrie is very disgusted with the Brooklyn Nets, even as he's playing with them. Not the team, like his teammates, but definitely ownership and definitely the general manager, Sean Marks. I think this team is going to implode because it was built around a bunch of lies. And deception. Everything Joe Tsai has said with Kyrie Irving, they're now doing the opposite. So now everyone felt his punishment was not suffice. As the owner says, I sat with him and I don't think he's anti Semitic. So Adam Silver sat with him and said and echoed the same words. So why was that man still suspended for a tweet? And he was out 8 games without pay. 8 games without being paid. That's a lot of money that you're taking from a player in the last year of his contract. And this is a contract year for him. So he could easily file a grievance. Easily. Well, who's his legal team? I think his legal team, one of the people that's on his team actually represented Vanessa Bryant. Yeah, he has a very strong legal team. I'll tell you that now. Well, sorry about that. I had to yawn a little bit, a little fatigue. Kyrie, they say he failed to apologize. No, it's not that he didn't apologize. His thing is saying that, like, what is he apologizing for? Making a link? He's just saying, look, you guys are trying to paint me and label me as something just for putting up a link. They're rushing to judgment. And no one's calling that out there. His only regret is that he was not as just simply came out and said it the way he was being defensive because he's being attacked because of who he is. And this seemed like more of a strategy to make him toe the line rather than, oh, we want you to be a part of something. This was more of, we want you to toe the line and come full circle rather than you doing the right thing and actually speaking forth to many of the different tropes that we go through every day. You got people like Eton Thomas, Mahmoud Abdul Raouf, Craig Hodges. You have other players in this league. Um, there's so many to name that went through different things, faith and belief. And because of their faith and belief, they were ostracized. The NBA owes an apology to Craig Hodges. They owe an apology to Mahmoud Abdul Raouf. They stole years away from those athletes because of their religious beliefs. They live these lives like this was their faith. They're not doing it for a trend. They're doing it for their spirituality. And they had every right to play and have the ability to play basketball. They weren't violent. They weren't troublemakers. You just didn't like that they were different. Different isn't wrong. Kyrie Irving isn't wrong. I'm disgusted in a lot of the underlining factors that comes from a lot of these different situations and scenarios. I'm just like, why can't we as people get past other people's? We want everybody to respect what we want, but we don't respect anything that they represent. It's got to be the way we want. We want. We Christians, so everybody got to be Christians. It don't work that way. Other people in the world feel different. So Craig Hodges was going to sue the NBA, but he was limited by the times of his era. In the '90s, he was not going to win. They weren't going to allow him to win. Not at all. They weren't going to allow. They weren't going to allow Mahmoud Abdul Raouf to win. They weren't. Even when he decided to stand for the national anthem in the NBA, they still punished him. They put him in the Kings, let him play out the rest of his contract, and then wouldn't let him get another deal. Craig Hodges was out the league. Other teams wanted to sign him, but told him that the NBA said that they couldn't. They wanted to sign him, but they couldn't. He tried everything in the world to get back into the NBA as a player. It was the saddest thing I've ever had to see. Craig was our coach at my college. And that's how me and him actually got tight. And he was still trying to get back in the league then. And I was just saying to myself, man, this is not a good way to go about doing it. Like, I just didn't understand it. Like, I didn't understand what the NBA was doing to him. And with Kyrie Irving, they want to make an example of him because it's all political. This is all political. He took a stance against something that the NBA itself was promoting. And for his own personal and health benefits, and how he feels about his own personal health, he chose another way and said, and by law, they can't do anything about it. But it became national attention because the left wanted to promote and use Kyrie as the gas. Like, no, we're gonna make an example of him. And it's like, to push your agenda, to try to force this man to go out and get it. To me, that was a bad example. And the NBA is like, well, that's not us, that's them. But they were all a part of it. They didn't care or try to protect Kyrie Irving. The hypocrisy was clear. You have other players that didn't have it, didn't have the jab, came over and played and was allowed to play in the same building. He's being prohibited from playing it. All political nonsense, violating all constitutional rights of the people. It was a nightmare. Oh no, Kyrie got a serious team. He ain't just got Joe Billy Bob representing him. No, he's got real lawyers, like a legal team. Like, they're actually working with the union rep, and then they're gonna work with they're gonna work on filing this grievance where Kyrie can get his money back. See, that's how the union get paid. So they was like, hey, look, this is how we get paid. This is our job. So they should have been on top of this like 21 Jump Street. While CJ's sitting on his thumbs, Kyrie can file a grievance. Now it's going to be a big thing next season on where will Kyrie go. Because if Kyrie, they try to pull this, don't nobody want to sign Kyrie Irving crap. Oh, they thought that march was something that was outside. They thought that was like impressive. Buddy boy, they go and pull that number. So, yeah, man, I'm fatiguing, but I mean, I look at these brothers, Eton, Craig Hodges, and Magnud Abdul Rahul, man. And it's other soldiers who fought for what they wanted. And the NBA told them to go kick rocks. For what reason? Just because they think different, just because they move different, just because they act different. People's rights have to be respected. The same way you want people to respect your rights, it goes both ways. That's how respect works. So, yeah, I'm waiting on Kyrie. I hope he sue the hell out of them. I mean, I can't calculate how many paychecks he done missed. He done missed about what, 2 paychecks or 1 paycheck? But it's gonna be significant. You know, it's not like some little spilt milk or something. This is serious. And then you put in a position where, okay, you void out his contract, then he'll go to another team, probably in the East, and just to help defeat you. There's a few teams that are interested in Kyrie Irving that I know about, that I was told about, but you told me to be quiet about it. So, you know, but they saying, nah, he got a place to go. It's people that want to be bothered with him. Listen to Chris.
We won't get to the substantive issues that Kyrie is speaking about. We don't want to deal with the fact of what our historical legacy is. We want to deal with what has been laid out before us as the truth. And when you come with the reality of the facts, that's when it becomes a thing where those powers step in and are able to, like you say, bash, silence, take away your bread. When I look at Brother Ye, my homeboy from the Shy, when I look at what Kyrie is going through, you can't. For me, when I look at the NBA, it's been a sustained practice of racism. When I look at the issues that have gone on with myself and Brotherhood, Mahmoud, you can't deny it. And what it's been able to do is they swept it under the rug, thinking that it would never raise its head again. And it's going to come back. It's going to continue to come back until you actually do something to actually make the issue go away. And until you have some type of truth and reconciliation type situation going on, where people aren't afraid to speak to the issues forthrightly, it's not going to happen, brother.
It's unfortunate because it's like all it takes is the right topic for that progressiveness to be completely wiped away. Well, I mean, it's okay being progressive, on certain topics that are okay, accepted or whatever. But all it takes is that right topic, and it's just interesting. Mahmoud, what was your reaction to it?
Well, just slightly reiterating what we talked about before and what Brother Craig just said, man. Man, there's so much to say about this issue in time. So many things were crossing my mind, man. One of the fact that when Kyrie is just being unapologetically who he is, and I think he's a young man, whether we agree with him or not, or anyone. The fact that he is courageous enough to throw his ideas out publicly to see how they're gonna bounce back. This is a part of growth. This is how you grow as a human being. That's the first thing. And I think as a result of that, being who he is as an athlete, and he's articulate. I talked to him for about an hour, months ago. Man, many months ago. And his whole thing, man, he's just on trying to evolve as a human being. Kyrie he can be. And he understands that he's learning. And when you're learning, there's going to be some missteps along the way. None of us are perfect. We're going to say things that, I could have said that better. We're going to say things, that was totally inaccurate. And we're going to say things that, regardless of what you say, I'm holding on to this thought and I'm owning it. And this is what I believe, whether you like it or not. And so he's moving in that way. And establishments like the NBA and other establishments, whether it's the ADL, whatever these organizations are, they don't like that type of brash, black man that's gonna be out there like this. So I knew when he was speaking like that, especially if it's anything related to something dealing with Jewish, there's this immediate condemnation that comes, and this silencing, and I call it it's intimidation tactic to really discourage discussions. This is what I believe. And I was reading something this morning, and there's this statesman, Alan Ebon, distinguished statesman years ago, and it still holds today. When we think about, just like what Dave Chappelle was talking about last night, and nothing he said was anti-Semitic, right? But this brother, this Ivan, Abba Ivan, this distinguished statesman, said some years ago, one of the chief tasks of any dialogue with Gentile, non-Jewish world is to prove that the distinction between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism is not a distinction at all. Zionism is merely the new anti-Semitism. In other words, this is a bigger issue. Anything related to saying something about a Jewish person, a Jewish community, or Jewish policies in Israel, right, is going to be branded anti-Semitic to silence you, because they don't want to deal with that discussion, because it's going to always back to that. So they're linking, right, anything associated with Jewism or Jewishness to you must be against all Jews, right? So on and so forth. And so, I mean, it's just, it's so much.
Yes.
These are like just a few of the things I'm thinking about among many others I know we'll get into. I don't want to hog the mic. But
No, we will get into it all.
Yeah, real deal.
It's interesting that you said that. You know, I just interviewed Chuck Modiano. He was on my show that I have with Dave Zirin, The Collision, where Sports and Politics Collide. And I'm gonna read you what his quote that he said to your point, Mark Booth. And he was talking about the Anti-Defamation League, and he was talking about his objections to Kyrie having to go and meet with the Anti-Defamation League in particular. So he said, not only are the Brooklyn Nets saying that Kyrie has to meet with Jewish leaders, but they are dictating which Jewish leaders he meets with. He said, I'm Jewish, and the Anti-Defamation League definitely doesn't represent me. I have so many issues with that organization as a whole. One being that they are trying to push the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism into law. Very dangerous. It conflates critiques of contemporary Israel policy against the Palestinians for anti-Semitism. He's like, I can't support an organization that would push for something like that. So for Chuck to say that, you know what I mean, it's not anti-Semitic, he's Jewish. We can't say that, you know what I mean? But for him to say it, now it's the same truth. They are actually pushing for that. Right here where I'm living in Maryland, they're pushing for that, specifically in Montgomery County. But any critique, anything that you say, and that's where I see with Kyrie, where they won't even allow him the space to even explain where he's coming from. They don't know where he's coming from. They have no idea. He said that he shared the documentary, Hebrews to Negroes. He said he doesn't agree with everything in the documentary. He said that he's sharing it for the information. I mean, well, so if that's what he said, do you not? So at least know where he stands before you.
They don't care. Eton, they don't care. When it's all said and done, it's they're trying to silence. Look, this is their weaponizing the term anti-Semitism.
Jewish.
Semitism, being Semitic is not just a Jewish thing. They tried to monopolize the term.
Yes, sir.
Period. And you know, and all of this talk about what's Semitic and what's not. Well, if you talk to Palestinians, right, and Christians who were on that land before the Balfour Declaration in 1940, and when this myth about, oh, it was a land without a people, for a people, to justify the plundering and the stealing of land and the demolition of homes, well, these were Semitic people living there. That you have come and taken their land, demolished their homes, right? So it's the pot calling the kettle black.
Right.
Isn't that anti-Semitism against that were there? So they don't want to, when it's all said and done, they want to silence every mention of this term and control how it's viewed, just like what you said, the new IHR, I can't remember because I read about that the other day. And this is just one of the techniques. And what we're doing and what other people are doing, we have to keep having these conversations so they don't hijack these terms for themselves. Just like Holocaust. You're not the only ones that had a Holocaust.
Yes,
The
sir.
Holocaust, look, not to diminish what happened to Jews. Yes, we know it was dangerous. But when you try to monopolize a term for yourself, that's dangerous territory. Your numbers don't trump what happened to Africans.
Teach, brother.
Your numbers don't trump the genocide, the Holocaust that happened to Native Americans.
Yes.
So they don't want to have these conversations, and you enter into dangerous territory, right? It only goes for so long. And when people speak about Jewish power, right? And it's reality. There are people in this country, there are people in this nation that have power, whether you want to talk about Republicans, Democrats, whatever it is. They're powerful people. We talk corporate America, where you want to talk about Jeff Bezos, billionaires. There are people with power. The fact that you can demand these type of things, and Kyrie had made it clear from the beginning, crystal clear.
Yeah.
That, like, how can I be anti-Semitic, regardless of what you agree or disagree? How can I be anti-Semitic when I'm when I'm who I am? And I don't agree with everything, but yet you want to keep digging.
Right.
And instead of, you would think that people that have gone through this type of abuse historically, right, that you know what it feels like.
Right.
To have this treatment, that you wouldn't approach it from the position of destroy and kill, but instead of understanding, heal.
Right.
But they come with a destroy and kill mission right off the bat. And the ADL has a history of spying on democratic organizations, on ACLU, on local Jewish human rights organizations that's against racism, and they have a history of that. So why would you want him and the demands that you're placing on him? You didn't place that on Brett Favre, who's $77 million. Matt Kellerman, I think his name, was talking, well, there's one thing in there, it disqualifies everything else. That's academically responsible. You know how many things historically in universities that Christopher Columbus discovered America. We throw all history out now.
Right.
Tell them, Martin.
More side effects than their benefits. Throw all the medicines out now, because there's one little thing.
Right.
This is academically responsible. No, you deal with that issue.
Yes.
Negroes. What's the name of it again?
Negro.
You don't throw the whole thing away. You say, hold on. We disagree with this. Let's talk about it. But you want to throw the whole. That doesn't exist. That's immature.
So let me break down, because I watched the entire documentary, all 3.5 hours of it, and I watched it slowly so I can digest everything. I wanted to be able to really, watch everything so I can intelligently speak and critique and the actual film. I know y'all haven't watched it, right?
I haven't.
Right. So let me tell you, I've watched it. So let me tell you my critique. The documentary, Hebrews to Negroes, is basically Ronald Dalton Jr. He's the author, and then they made the film, the documentary, based off of his book. And so he's making the case for the original Hebrews, God's chosen people, being black, or darker skin, or basically not white. And he's providing evidence to support that claim. So he goes through science, DNA, he quotes different philosophers from around the world, Greek philosophers, Rome, all these different philosophers. He quotes archaeologists who found ancient remains in Israel and their findings after examining the bone structure and the nose and the jawline. And he says, their conclusions of this could not have been white people. This had to be black people or darker skinned people with, consistent with what they found with archaeology. He shows that. He examines the disbursement of the 12 tribes all across the globe, West Africa, Native Americans, Ethiopians, the Tao Indians throughout the Caribbean, the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Incas, the Benin people, Aborigines in Australia, et cetera, and the similarities. He shows the similarities in their language, Hebraic customs, their prayers, the circumcision, the ceremonial washing of the hands, all these different Hebrew customs that they have kind of intertwined with their customs, right? Showing the connections to those people. Then he examines the Bantus Igbo people, right? So he goes back to Abraham, and the
Listen to
Bible.
this,
So it
y'all.
shows the connection, like Abraham begot this person, Abraham got this. It shows the connection directly to the Bantus Igbo people, right? And then he shows the historical documents that state that in the Congo specifically, that it was in fact like a large Hebrew Israelite kingdom, consisting of like the Bantus Igbo tribes. And the tribes incorporate a lot of people. If it's like the Malua, the Babaleke, the Sakuma, the Bagande, the Timni, where my origin is from after doing a DNA test. I'm from the Timni tribe. The Kikuyu, the Zulu, the Shanti, the Ave, Yoruba, Igbo, all these people incorporated in the Bantus Igbo tribe, right? So then he showed how all of them documented how they migrated south from Israel to Africa by way of Egypt. And he's showing like the word Sakuma and how it actually means, like the people from the north. So he's doing all of that. So my question to people who want to throw all that, it's like a documentary, it's like it could have been on a National Geographic or something like that, is if you don't like the film, instead of wanting to ban it, can you undoubtedly disprove the drawn connections made in Hebrews to Negroes that the Bantus Igbo people are the Israelites of the Bible? And can you disprove that with opposing facts or evidence? And if you can, that's where the discussion comes. And we have a discussion. You know what I mean? But to just say, we're going to ban the whole film, denounce the whole film, everything about the entire, I was like, it's 3.5 hours long. There are some parts that are problematic. I can say that. There are some parts that need to be in there. I will say that as well. But to throw away the entire film and to have Kyrie announce the whole thing when he literally said, I don't agree with everything in the film, but I shared it for the information. And that's really they don't even want to have the discussion. Like take it complete, it's anti-Semitic discussion over. And that's my issue, Craig, because it's like, you should be able to discuss anything. You know what I mean?
To me, the wild part though is, where did you get it from? You got it from Amazon, but none of that's coming across. We're not talking about, and that's to me is the billionaire part of this thing that, it's a certain level that you get to and you can hide behind this thing that, it's about economics. And when I look at the record labels, they do the same things. They telling us that, hey, we're not trying to stop violence. It's about economics. I got to feed my children too. Now, for me, the research on this whole Jewish thing is I go to them and look at what their researchers are saying. So when you look at Arthur Kessler, who wrote the 13th tribe, you follow me? We talk, it's been 12 the whole time. Where did this 13th tribe come from? And now you're able to, like you say, you're able to have the levers of power. So when I talk about somebody like Kyrie, how can he make any power moves over anybody on the Jewish level? But when it comes to Mahmoud, myself, Kyrie, Brother Ye, you're able to pull a certain power move. And that's when I'm saying that, when you talk about real racism, those who have been affected by it never get to tell the story. So one of the things that I'm saying, like when I'm looking at Charles Barkley, when I'm looking at Shaq, Kenny to me is he's that point guard, you know what I'm saying? And he's able to make sure I try to keep it at the even kill, but knowing what's really going on. Because those guys, they were there when it happened with me. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't have one thing to say. When I look at Charles and I'm saying, you're talking about Adam, you're talking in first person term, well, this is your boy. Okay, since he's your boy, why don't you have a sit down with Mahmoud and myself and Adam Silver? I've never had a chance. I went to the commissioner in 1997 when I sued the league, Stern, and it was as if I wasn't even sitting there, to speak to my issues. So when we look at the ability to affect life, that's power to me. when you have the ability to take away someone's livelihood, when you're able to take away 1.6 billion from Brother Ye, who could possibly utilize that for solutions in urban communities, and then that's what I'm saying. So when we look at them wanting somebody to sympathize with them and empathize with the Holocaust, you haven't shown any type of empathy where we're concerned. None at all. Even to the point where you have the ability through your institutions. Okay, we play on your squads. Why haven't you leveraged any money within these communities where we play at to put in programs that will affect where we come from?
Because they don't want to. See, this is why they don't want to have the conversation. That's why they don't want to have the conversation, good people. Shouts out to basketballnews.com. Now, let's listen to a Jewish man, John Stewart, give a perfect assessment on this situation. Listen.
There's the Kanye situation, and then obviously the Kyrie situation. And after the Kyrie situation, Kyrie Irving on Twitter was trending the Jews. I don't believe that censorship and penalties are the way to end anti-Semitism or to not gain understanding. I don't believe in that. And I think it's the wrong way for us to approach it. Kyrie Irving, they suspended him from playing basketball. Penalizing somebody for having a thought, I don't think is the way to change their minds or gain understanding. This is a grown-ass man. And the idea that you would say to him, we're going to put you in a timeout. You have to sit in the corner and stare at the wall until you no longer believe that the Jews controlled the international banking system. Like, we have to get past this in the country. The ability to, look, people think this. People think Jews control Hollywood. People think Jews control the banks. And to pretend that they don't, and to not deal with it in a straightforward manner, we will never gain any kind of understanding with each other. The most interesting thing to come out of this, in my mind, was something Kanye said on his tour that he was doing after he said that, and then he got interviewed by 5 different people because the media model is arson and conflict. He said something fascinating in my mind. He said, hurt people hurt people. And if the point of all this is then to heal people, the only way to heal a wound is to open it up and cleanse it. And that stings. That hurts. But you have to expose it to air. And I'm afraid that the general tenor of conversation in this country is cover it up, bury it, put it to the outskirts, and don't deal with it.
And that is coming from a Jewish man. So, you will be surprised. Many Jewish men think like that. Many of them. It's the people that are in power. Those are the ones who are making the decisions and calling the shots. The gatekeepers. Those are the ones. But the ones that are down here every day going to work, doing their job, they're not concerned with all this nonsense. They're about taking care of their families. They're not even caught into this nonsense that's been going on. So it just goes to show you that what's being exposed is a underlying bias based on status quo, manipulation, control, and ego. Kyrie Irving has millions of dollars. Kanye West had $1 billion. And they could take it all away from you with the snap of a finger just to make you toe the line. So that's about it. Hopefully everybody liked the video. They subscribe to the page, hit that notification bell. I'm out. Shouts out to Kwame Brown Bus Life. Don't forget to follow his page and follow Kwame Brown Bus Life 2.0. Welcome to HDTV. Jose Rodriguez, Seahawks Jose Rodriguez's channel. Ticket TV. One Crack News. What other channel? Dreamers Pro. They do a good job. Watch Dreamers Pro for sports. Boxing and basketball with Sean. The Star Report with Star. The Supernova himself. And Queen Regina and Sister T. Damn D. He been holding it down. And I'm out.